Hyeon-Woo, after defeating the giant skeleton with a single kick, suddenly received a notification on his screen. It told him he needed to prove himself by obtaining a key located in the deepest part of the rift, which was about to appear. He paused for a moment, wondering if he should go deeper into the airport. But before he could decide, he turned toward the hunters who had just witnessed his fight. They were still standing in shock, unable to believe what they'd seen. Seeing their expressions, Hyeon-Woo casually warned them that a swarm of monsters was closing in from behind. As he scanned the area, it was clear that plenty of monsters were still roaming around. He originally planned to head straight for the airport, but decided to stay and help, just for a bit. He picked up the massive mace left behind by the giant skeleton. Everyone around him was stunned that a human could lift something that enormous. Hyeon-Woo leapt high into the air with the mace in hand. At the peak of his jump, he spun his body mid-air and slammed the weapon down onto the incoming monsters. The impact was devastating. Everything in its path was crushed, even the ground beneath. A brief silence followed. No one could say a word. The hunters were completely dumbfounded. One of the hunter leaders, witnessing this incredible power, felt a surge of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could survive this fight thanks to Hyeon-Woo. He rallied the others to hold the line until reinforcements arrived and instructed them to gather near Hyeon-Woo. But before they could act, Hyeon-Woo casually turned and started running toward the airport's core. "Handle the rest yourselves," he said nonchalantly, leaving them speechless once again. But this time, it wasn't awe. It was disbelief at how indifferent he seemed. Still, the hunter leader pushed through his frustration and encouraged the others to fight off the remaining monsters and hold on, even as he silently grumbled about Hyeon-Woo's attitude. The battle raged on. The hunters fought fiercely, but the wave of monsters kept growing. They were nearing their limit. The numbers were overwhelming, yet the leader refused to give in. With a fierce yell, he declared, "If we fall here, everyone outside dies." He urged them to hang in there just a little longer, convinced that backup would eventually come. Just then, an ogre charged at him from behind. But at the last second, someone drew a sword and activated the skill Single Sword, cutting the ogre down in an instant. The hunter leader turned and let out a relieved smile. It was Si-Hyun from the Soul Guild. Calmly, Si-Hyun slid his sword back into its sheath. "Looks like I'm not too late," he said. And he wasn't alone. His guild members were right behind him, ready for battle. Not long after, lightning struck from the sky, obliterating monsters in another part of the battlefield. People turned toward the source of the strike. The figure that appeared was Seo-Yoon, accompanied by her own team. Her elegance and beauty left everyone momentarily mesmerized. Seeing the two of them arrive, the hunter leader figured there had to be one more person on the way. And he was right. Someone pointed in another direction. Seo-Kwan had arrived with his forces. As all three teams gathered, the hunter leader felt a wave of emotion. They were finally saved. Seo-Young looked around, scanning the area for Hyeon-Woo. The hunter leader informed her that he had already gone deep into the heart of the rift. Si-Hyun seemed worried, but Seo-Young just smiled in response. Wasting no time, Seo-Kwan took the lead and commanded everyone to take out the remaining monsters and prepare to enter the rift's core. With his shield at the ready, Seo-Kwan charged into the front lines, plowing through every monster in his way and sending them flying. Meanwhile, Si-Hyun followed with effortless grace, slashing his sword through a group of enemies, cutting them cleanly into pieces. Elsewhere on the battlefield, Seo-Young unleashed lightning magic from her hands. Thunderbolt. Several magic circles appeared mid-air and struck down a horde of monsters in front of her. Meanwhile, deep inside the airport, Hyeon-Woo was busy wiping out monsters as he wondered whether the people outside were doing okay. Eventually, he arrived at the edge of a massive chasm, the rift. It was so deep that he couldn't figure out how to descend. That's when he noticed a pathway across the gap, one used by the monsters to climb up from below. He paused for a second, glanced left and right, then decided to use a nearby car to get down. But in typical Hyeon-Woo fashion, instead of using the car itself, he ripped off both of its doors and turned them into makeshift shields, or wings. With that, he launched himself high into the air and landed squarely on the monster-built path. The sheer force of his landing caused a massive explosion, with smoke billowing everywhere. As the dust began to settle, Hyeon-Woo appeared, holding a car door in each hand, grinning like a maniac. Without hesitation, he charged at the monsters scrambling up the path. With brutal force, he sent them flying, many of them plummeting back into the abyss. As he got closer to the bottom, Hyeon-Woo tossed away the car doors and dove down, free-falling toward the depths. When he landed, he stood atop a pile of freshly defeated monsters. He scanned the area until his eyes locked onto a figure emerging from the shadows. The creature had an ogre-like build, but its body was red and adorned with 3 sharp horns on its head. It was known as the Climber Scarlet Devil, but it wasn't the monster's fearsome appearance that caught Hyeon-Woo's attention. It was the key hanging from its waistband. Without a word, Hyeon-Woo dashed forward, ready to end the fight with a single blow. He aimed to finish it in one strike, but just as his fist was about to hit the monster's face, it swiftly dodged. Hyeon-Woo was shocked, but had no time to react. The Climber Scarlet Devil counterattacked with blinding speed, landing a powerful kick that sent Hyeon-Woo flying backward. Dazed, he was stunned to find a monster that could not only dodge his attack but strike back with such force. Before he could regroup, the monster was already closing in again. In a split-second decision, Hyeon-Woo managed to evade its follow-up attack, catching the monster off guard. Using that moment, Hyeon-Woo struck upward with his foot, landing a clean hit to the monster's chin. Then, without pausing, he got up and landed a punch to the monster's head, sending it crashing to the ground. But the monster wasn't done. It stood up again, clearly annoyed, grumbling angrily while pointing at Hyeon-Woo. Not understanding a word of the monster's rant, Hyeon-Woo simply ignored it. Like a bolt of lightning, he charged again with a punch. But once more, the monster managed to block it, and this time, it grabbed his fist mid-strike. Irritated, Hyeon-Woo immediately went for a follow-up with his left hand. Just before the punch could land, the monster suddenly emitted a strange purple glow. The light threw Hyeon-Woo off for a brief moment, and the monster took advantage of that split second to land another powerful kick. Hyeon-Woo was thrown back again, coughing from the impact. He now realized this monster was unlike anything he had fought before. Not even the ones in the tower came close. He had no choice. If he wanted to win, he'd have to use his hidden technique. Rising to his feet, he pointed at the monster and declared that it was going to die. He took a fighting stance, ready for battle. The monster looked confused, unsure what Hyeon-Woo was about to do. Deep down, Hyeon-Woo wasn't exactly thrilled either. He didn't want to use this technique again. The scene flashed back to his time trapped in the tower. Back then, in his frustration, he'd thought about how, in martial arts novels, a character often achieves enlightenment after mastering many techniques, helping them overcome impossible odds. Clinging to that idea, Hyeon-Woo had made up his mind. He would train in martial arts himself. But it wasn't just any kind of martial art. What Hyeon-Woo tried back then was inspired by animated films and web novels. Even though he knew it was all nonsense, he didn't care. What mattered to him was the hope that something might happen if he just kept trying. At first, he mimicked every cheesy martial arts move that popped into his head, but all of them failed. He tried again and failed, tried again and failed again. But on his 100th attempt, something completely unexpected happened. Looking back now, Hyeon-Woo considers that time utterly embarrassing, something he'd rather forget. But right now, he had no choice. He had to use that ridiculous technique again to face the monster standing before him. Both of them braced for an attack. As the monster's fist came dangerously close to Hyeon-Woo's face, at that exact moment, his own fist was already inches from the monster's. He called that move Destruction Punch, and the impact was devastating. In an instant, the monster's head was completely obliterated. The sheer force of the blow tore apart the surroundings, leaving a cloud of dust in its wake. Calm and composed, Hyeon-Woo sighed in relief, thankful that no one had witnessed what just happened. Just saying the name of that technique made him cringe. He hated remembering his old self. Then, he grabbed the key from the monster's remains. Suddenly, a notification popped up on his interface. Hyeon-Woo had successfully defeated the climber Scarlet Devil. His status screen changed, and the system officially invited him to become a guardian, with 3 days left to accept. As he stared at the message, Hyeon-Woo finally felt like he was getting closer to a real answer, about his power, and about his purpose. But unbeknownst to him, a drone hovered above. "What's that?" he muttered. It turned out to be a broadcast drone, live streaming everything on behalf of the association. At that very moment, the upper ranks of Guild Aries were gathered, watching the footage in silence. They had seen Hyeon-Woo's overwhelming power with their own eyes. The guild leader looked baffled. There was no way that man was just an A-rank hunter. His subordinate explained that the stats weren't from their internal analysis team. It came directly from the official Hunter Association data. Slamming the table in frustration, the guild leader snapped, "You're still denying it after watching that footage? You think he's just A-rank?" His subordinate said nothing. The guild leader, still fuming, added, "He's wearing nothing but a tracksuit. No magic, no items." But as he replayed the fight in his head, he slowly realized, raw power like that can't be judged by appearance alone. Turning to Deputy Manager Yu, the guild leader asked, "Do we have all the data?" Deputy Manager Yu nodded. "I've gathered everything I could for now." Smirking, the guild leader thought to himself, "There's one thing that even overwhelming power can't overcome." Then he ordered Deputy Manager Yu to prepare everything carefully and to launch the plan as soon as it was ready. The next day at the Korean branch of the Hunter Association, a formal award ceremony was held. The award was presented directly by the Minister of Defense of Korea. But Hyeon-Woo didn't seem impressed in the slightest. As the minister approached to give him the award, he glanced at Hyeon-Woo's outfit and said, "Looks like I'll need to buy Hunter Hyeon-Woo some proper clothes." Casually smiling, Hyeon-Woo replied, "Don't worry about me." The minister was clearly irritated by Hyeon-Woo's lack of respect. After receiving the award and a bouquet of flowers, Hyeon-Woo just turned and walked off, without even saying goodbye. The minister stood there, stunned, thinking, what kind of guy is this? Meanwhile, his three friends could only smile at Hyeon-Woo's usual unpredictable attitude. The scene shifts to China, specifically to the outskirts of Beijing. Inside the fortress of Overlord Guild domination, a woman lounges in a pool, watching a massive monitor screen in front of her. A skull tattoo stretches across her back. She's watching a broadcast of Hyeon-Woo's battle against the Scarlet Devil. As she observes Hyeon-Woo's stance, something about it feels familiar. Pointing at the screen, she asks, "What's his name?" Someone nearby, likely one of her subordinates, replies, "He's the guy who recently cleared the Korean tutorial tower. His name is Hunter Hyeon-Woo." The woman, upon hearing the name, immediately orders an investigation into him. What do you mean by investigation? Her subordinate asks. Everything, she says. Leave nothing out. Every move he's made, from the past until now. The subordinate nods, acknowledging the command. Not long after, another subordinate enters, salutes, and reports that the process of taking over the Wei Yan Guild is going smoothly. He continues, explaining that they've successfully captured all the major dungeons in the southern region. However, during the operation, a conflict broke out with Guild Aries, and one of their executives was taken hostage. The woman steps out of the pool, her eyes sharp and intimidating. How could an executive get captured by a guild like Aries? She says coldly. It's disgraceful. Her voice turns stern. If he can't return on his own, then there's no place for him here. Her subordinate lowers his head in silence. She then commands, accelerate the guild takeover. We can't afford to fail just because of a single dungeon within the same territory. Gazing back at the screen displaying a blushing Hyeon-Woo, the woman gently strokes the image of his face and whispers in her heart, all of this is for the promise I made. Again, silently to herself, for the sake of that promise. Elsewhere, in a quiet cafe, Seo-yoon looks visibly frustrated with Hyeon-Woo. The media buzz around his outrageous behavior during the recent awards ceremony is causing quite a stir. After receiving the award, Hyeon-Woo had walked off without a word. Hyeon-Woo, as carefree as ever, simply says, why bother thinking about that stuff? I'm gonna live the way I want. That only makes Seo-young and Si-hyun more exasperated. Seo-kwan, on the other hand, just chuckles dryly. Hyeon-Woo then excuses himself. Si-hyun asks, where are you going, Hyeon-Woo? I have an appointment, he replies. Seo-yoon looks shocked. Wait, Hyeon-Woo has friends? Yeah, he answers casually. Seo-young doesn't buy it, and her frustration deepens. Seo-kwan chimes in, why worry? He's strong enough to handle anything. Si-hyun adds, he's already made an enemy out of Aries, and now the media is blowing everything up. Ever since he left the tower, the number of people who want him dead has only increased. Seo-yoon sighs. What is he even trying to do? With a calm smile, Seo-kwan reassures them. Don't worry too much. He's not the type to act without thinking. Meanwhile, Hyeon-Woo walks into a narrow alley and opens his status screen. After a moment, a voice greets him. Nice to see you again, Hyeon-Woo, says AV. Yeah, same here, Hyeon-Woo replies. Wasting no time, he asks, has my authority level gone up? AV answers, yes. Since you defeated the Scarlet Devil, your authority level has been upgraded from lowest to low. Hyeon-Woo's face immediately darkens. His expression shifts into something twisted, almost psychotic. Are you messing with me right now? Terrified, AV quickly explains she's just relaying the information she received and begs him to calm down. But Hyeon-Woo grows more irritated. Which clown taught you that nonsense? AV blurts out, the system. What exactly has improved then? He demands. AV answers, there's no change in information access. Hyeon-Woo's rage only intensified. AV tried to calm him down, saying, now that you've officially become a guardian, I can guide you on what to do next. If you follow through, you'll get what you truly want. Still burning with frustration, Hyeon-Woo glared at her. But AV continued. You must stop the climbers. Curious, Hyeon-Woo asked. Climbers? They're beings that climb the tower, AV explained. Though Hyeon-Woo had spent so long inside a tower, this was his first time hearing the term. But AV wasn't talking about the tutorial tower. She was referring to another tower, one with 12 levels, Earth being one of them. Hyeon-Woo was stunned. His duty as a guardian was to protect the 9th level of that tower. Shocked, he froze for a moment. Everything had started from a simple question, a desire to learn who had locked him inside the tutorial tower. But now he was shouldering something far heavier, the fate of the world. Frustrated, he shouted, why does this keep getting more complicated? Why do I have more and more to deal with? V remained composed. If you don't stop the climbers on the 9th level, Earth will be destroyed. Hearing that, Hyeon-Woo slammed the table in anger. So, just because I have to do it, I'm supposed to sit back and accept it? Is that what you're saying? AV, slightly panicked, replied quickly, no, that's not what I meant, but that's basically how it is. Hyeon-Woo shot her a sharp, menacing glare. His voice dropped, heavy with pressure. Tell me the truth. If there's something I need to know, say it now. What exactly am I supposed to do? V paused for a moment. As one of the system's 9th level administrators, she shouldn't be this shaken. Regaining her composure, she firmly called out, Hyeon-Woo! He looked at her, eyes sharp with unwavering focus. But AV's resolve crumbled the moment she saw his serious expression. Flustered, she stammered, don't be so angry. The reason they chose you to be a guardian, it was for your own good too. It's meant to help you, and there are rewards. The more climbers you defeat, the higher your authority rank will be. Hyeon-Woo then asked the question he truly cared about. To get information about the one who created the tutorial tower, and the one who trapped me inside it, how high does my authority need to be? AV hesitated, then replied, to access that kind of information, you'll need to reach at least high-level authority status. Hyeon-Woo thought for a moment, then asked, so how many climbers do I need to defeat to reach that level? A V let out a sigh before answering. Climbers are categorized into different classes. To keep it simple, you'll need to defeat 5 high-class climbers. That might be enough to boost your authority to high level. Hyeon-Woo narrowed his eyes, thinking. What class was the climber in the rift yesterday? Low class, AV answered casually. A grin spread across Yeon-Woo's face. All right, that gives me a rough idea. That night, in Si-Hyun's apartment, Yeon-Woo sat silently, staring at his status screen. His mind was racing. Truthfully, he didn't care about saving the world. That wasn't his concern. He wasn't going to waste time thinking about it. One thing was clear, he had to find the one who trapped him in the tutorial tower. And to do that, he needed to defeat high-class climbers. Suddenly, his phone rang. Seo Young's name flashed on the screen. Yeon-Woo, something big just happened. Turn on the news, now, she said urgently. Hyeon-Woo grabbed the remote and flipped on the news. His face appeared on screen. Breaking news. Hunter. Hyeon-Woo is suspected of murdering a member of Guild Aries. The incident reportedly took place inside a dungeon owned by Guild Aries. Yeon-Woo stared at the screen, emotionless. What kind of nonsense is this? But instead of getting angry, he smiled. A different kind of smile. The kind that said he was already planning his next move. The next day, at Seo Kwan's house, Hyeon-Woo was lounging lazily on the sofa while his phone kept ringing non-stop. Annoyed, he muttered, "What's all the fuss about?" Nearby, Seo Young was glaring at him, clearly fed up. Her voice rising in frustration, she snapped, "And whose fault do you think this chaos is?" She continued angrily. "The news of you leaving the tower after 12 years was already huge. Now that you've stopped the rift alone, even international eyes are on you. On top of that, there are murder rumors going around. I knew from the beginning you'd end up clashing with Aries." But Hyeon-Woo remained completely unbothered, not even changing his laid-back position. "There's no need to worry. Why stress about it?" That only made Seo Young angrier. Her frustration was practically radiating off her. "How can I not worry? Do you think you're still inside the tower or something?" As Seo Young kept lecturing him, Hyun-Woo couldn't help but think, why does this feel like I'm being nagged by a wife? I don't even have a girlfriend. With a relaxed grin, he teased, "Are you that worried about me?" Without hesitation, Seo Young shot back. "Isn't that obvious?" There was a brief pause before Hyun-Woo asked with a playful tone, "Do you like me or something?" Caught completely off guard, Seo Young's face turned bright red. Flustered and furious, she shouted, "You're joking now of all times! Say that again and I'll zap you with thunderbolt." A glowing orb of lightning formed in her hand. Breaking into a nervous sweat, Hyeon-Woo quickly turned away and muttered, all right, forget I said anything." He could tell another joke might actually get him fried. Just then, Si-Hyun entered the room, holding out his phone. "Your name is at the top of real-time searches. You're the #1 topic right now." With a serious tone, he began reading the headlines aloud. Hunter Hyeon-Woo, suspected of murder. Are his 3 fellow guild leaders also prone to violence? Testimony from a Guild Aries member assaulted by Hyeon-Woo. Evidence of destruction left behind in Aries Guild's headquarters. Si-Hyun looked at Hyeon-Woo, clearly exasperated, but Hyeon-Woo remained completely unfazed. Expressionless, he asked, "Why are you looking at me like that?" With growing gloom and frustration, Si-Hyun replied, "Our lives are crumbling on social media, and you're just sitting there like it's nothing? You want us all to go down with you?" Meanwhile, Seo Kwan, still smiling calmly, offered his own advice. "Just turn your phones off. That's what I did." Ignoring the complaints, Hyeon-Woo turned to Seo Kwan and asked, "When does the press conference start?" "In about 30 minutes, Seo Kwan replied. Then with a curious look, he added, "Are you ready for it?" Seo Young and Si-Hyun were both startled. Their confusion only deepened when Hyun-Woo asked Seo Kwan to gather the reporters. "What are you planning to do?" they asked, nearly in unison. Hyun-Woo responded with a blank expression. "What do you mean, what? You think I'd call for a press conference without having anything prepared?" But Seo Young and Si-Hyun weren't buying it. "With your personality, I doubt you're doing this to clear your name," Seo Young said suspiciously. Si-Hyun added with a serious tone, "You're trying to destroy Guild Aries, aren't you?" Seo Kwan burst out laughing at their wild guesses, while Hyun-Woo could only sigh in frustration at how far their imaginations were going. Over at Guild Aries, their leader was smiling smugly. Everything was going according to plan. The previous night, nearly every media outlet had picked up the story. Public opinion was already turning, and their efforts to ruin Hyeon-Woo's reputation were finally gaining momentum. One of the subordinates reported, "Around 2 p.m. today, Hyeon-Woo is expected to hold a press conference." The deputy manager chimed in. "With the way the public is seeing him right now, no matter what he says, it won't be easy for him to turn things around." Hearing that, the leader of Guild Aries smiled even wider. The one who takes the initiative wins. In his mind, Yeon-Woo was already too deep to back out now. All they had to do was stay one step ahead to completely corner him. Hyun-Woo already made the first foolish move. The more popular he gets, the more it'll backfire on him. He turned to his deputy. "Is this press conference going to be broadcast live?" The deputy nodded, adding that they had also dispatched a few people to the venue to keep an eye on things. Once again, the leader of Guild Aries smiled. Victory was within reach. In Mokdong, at the press conference hall, Hyeon-Woo sat before a crowd of reporters, their cameras flashing relentlessly, capturing his every move. A barrage of sharp questions was thrown his way. Is the circulating news about you true? What was your motive for attacking Guild Aries? How do you respond to the murder allegations? All eyes were locked on him, but Hyeon-Woo remained silent for a moment. Then, with a calm voice, he said, "First of all, since I don't really know how these press conferences are supposed to go, I'll just do things my own way." He pointed at one of the reporters. "You, repeat your question." The reporter asked, "How are you feeling right now?" With a relaxed expression, Hyeon-Woo replied, "Good. Honestly, like crap." The entire room froze in shock. But before anyone could react, Hyeon-Woo pointed to another reporter. "Is it true that you killed a member of Guild Aries?" Without a hint of hesitation, Hyeon-Woo casually answered, "Yes." Faces across the room instantly turned grim, but before they could say anything else, Hyeon-Woo continued, "But I'd appreciate it if you waited to judge me until you hear what I have to say next." As he spoke, he pulled out his phone. The crowd looked on, puzzled. Then he played a voice recording. "I was sent by Guild Aries to take care of Hyeon-Woo." The voice was clear. It was the final words of Cheon-gang Shin, recorded just before his death. Reporters scrambled to record the audio, realizing they had just heard solid evidence. Guild Aries had indeed sent someone to kill him. Hyeon-Woo stopped the recording midway. One of the reporters immediately asked sharply, "Where did you get this recording?" Still calm, Hyeon-Woo answered, "Aries must have already told you that the invisible swamp was where a hunter named Cheon-gang Shin died. I went there to defeat a boss monster, but instead, I found myself in a situation I didn't expect, like this. And now the media is spinning it into some sensational drama, as if Aries is the only victim here." The reporter followed up, this time with a more serious tone. "So, are you saying Guild Aries is accusing Hunter Hyeon-Woo?" Wearing a cool, relaxed smile, Hyeon-Woo replied, "Isn't that exactly what they're doing?" The tension in the room escalated. Another reporter quickly chimed in, "Can you guarantee that the recording is authentic? Audio can be easily manipulated after all." Hyeon-Woo paused for a moment, then smiled. "I was almost disappointed no one asked that," he replied. "At first I thought this recording would be enough proof. But if the press wants something more..." He raised his phone. "This phone belonged to the hunter sent to assassinate me." He went on to explain that he couldn't unlock the phone because it was password protected, but if handed over to the authorities, it could be opened. For now, he just brought it to show the reporters. Hyeon-Woo then asked what any of them would do if an assassin from Guild Aries came after them. He reminded them he was just a hunter who had recently exited the tower. He fought back simply because he didn't want to die. He explained that the assassin who attacked him got unlucky. During their fight, the assassin ran into the mega alligator, the dungeon boss in that area, and ended up getting thrown out and killed. One of the reporters asked if Hyeon-Woo was the one who killed the assassin. "You could say that," Hyun-Woo answered. "But it was because of his own carelessness during the fight, something that should have never happened." The reporters jotted down every word of his confession. Hyun-Woo then said he'd always heard Guild Aries was an impressive organization, which was why he initially considered letting the whole thing slide. But instead, they chose to blow the incident out of proportion. After the press conference ended, Hyun-Woo walked out, thinking to himself that this kind of annoying mess wasn't exactly new to him. When he saw the headlines, "Guild Aries manufactured drama," and false reports from Guild Aries, he smirked and thought, "They really thought I'd be an easy target? That's just plain stupid." Elsewhere, the deputy manager of Guild Aries looked furious as he read the reports. Hyeon-Woo had flipped their entire plan on its head with one simple trick, a voice recording. Just thinking about it made his blood boil, and he slammed his fist on the table. But after a moment, he chuckled and admitted that he used to think Si-hyun was just a hard-headed kid relying only on brute strength, with no clue how the world really worked. Then, with a serious look, he muttered that he had no intention of letting Hyun-Woo off the hook. At a restaurant, Hyun-Woo and his three companions were enjoying dinner together while chatting. Si-hyun said he was amazed Hyun-Woo had the foresight to record everything, as if he knew this situation would happen. Seo-kwan chimed in, saying he was also stunned while watching the press conference live. Seo-young added that she never expected Hyun-Woo to have Cheon-gang Shin's phone, and admitted she was impressed. She never thought he could be so meticulous, but Hyun-Woo casually replied, "That was all a lie." The three of them went silent. Si-hyun asked, confused, "Wait, are you saying everything you said during the press conference was a lie?" Hyun-Woo raised his phone and clarified that the phone he showed wasn't actually the assassin's, but the recording he played, that was real. He explained that because his friends kept warning him about how dangerous Guild Aries was, he got into the habit of recording whenever he left the house. Even he didn't expect that one of those recordings would come in handy like this. Seo-young suddenly panicked, warned that if the phone was examined, Hyun-Woo could be in serious trouble. She asked why he would risk telling a lie that could so easily be exposed. Hyun-Woo replied calmly, "That's not going to happen." Still frustrated, Seo-young asked why he was so confident. As he casually twirled his fork, Hyun-Woo explained that before he ever had to hand over the phone to the authorities, Guild Aries would definitely come for him first. And when that happened, he'd be ready to give them a little warning, to make sure they know not to mess with him. Hearing his explanation, Seo-young finally felt a bit more at ease. Still, deep down, she couldn't help but feel like she was the only one freaking out and overreacting like an idiot. As he picked up a piece of steak, Hyeon-Woo told them not to worry. While chewing his food, he thought about how Guild Aries was a massive organization based in the US, controlling dungeons and labyrinths across the globe. Out of all the countries, Korea was one of the places where they held the most control. Hyeon-Woo wondered if they'd come back with another stupid plan, or maybe try to strike a deal with him again. Either way, he didn't care. If a fight broke out, Aries had a lot to lose. But Hyeon-Woo? He had nothing to lose at all. After dinner, Hyeon-Woo and Seo-hyun walked toward their car. But just before getting in, Hyeon-Woo suddenly said he wanted to take a walk and told Seo-hyun to head home first. Seo-hyun hesitated at first, but eventually gave in, thinking Hyeon-Woo could handle himself. Hyeon-Woo strolled casually into a narrow alley. Once he reached the middle, he stopped. With a faint smile, he muttered that they'd shown up earlier than he expected. From the shadows, a group of assassins appeared and surrounded him. One of them told Hyeon-Woo that someone wanted to meet him and asked him to come along. Hyeon-Woo laughed at their outfits, mocking them for looking like medieval assassins, but none of them reacted. He then asked if the person looking for him was someone important from Guild Aries. One of the assassins replied that he'd find out, if he agreed to come, peacefully. Hyeon-Woo, still calm, asked what would happen if he refused. The assassin answered bluntly. In that case, they'd force him. Hyeon-Woo smiled and said that thanks to the rift, he'd become pretty famous. And yet, knowing that, they still tried something this stupid. He had to admit, they had guts. Then he stepped forward, startling the assassins. But instead of attacking, he simply pulled something out of the ground and pointed at the one who'd been speaking. In his right hand were a bunch of green onions. The assassin, clearly pissed off, lunged at Hyeon-Woo, yelling that they weren't like Cheongang Shin. They were stronger. But before he could finish his sentence, Hyeon-Woo smacked him straight in the face with the green onions, sending him flying backward. The rest of the assassins immediately charged in, swords drawn, chanting reinforcement spells. But what they didn't expect was that their blades couldn't even scratch Hyeon-Woo, like their swords had turned blunt. Long story short, the assassins sent by Guild Aries were completely overpowered and left sprawled on the ground. Only one was still standing, trembling, crying, and begging for mercy. Hyeon-Woo said he'd spare him, but only if he told him who was looking for him. The scene shifted to Gyeonggi, on the outskirts of Gwangju. There, hidden underground, was a secret bunker guarded by two people dressed just like the earlier assassins. They were casually chatting about Hyeon-Woo, exchanging gossip and rumors. But mid-conversation, Hyeon-Woo suddenly crashed down like a bomb, shattering the ground beneath him. He was dragging the same assassin who had begged for mercy, now unconscious. The two guards froze, stunned by his sudden arrival. And when they got a better look at who he was dragging, they were shocked. It was someone from Team 1A, the elite squad said to be the strongest unit in the entire bunker. Inside, someone who seemed to hold a high-ranking position within Guild Aries heard the noise. The thunderous impact was getting closer, coming from the direction of the lift. Suddenly, a massive explosion blasted through the elevator, slamming into the assassin Hyeon-Woo had brought with him. Everyone inside the bunker immediately sprang into action, ready to fight. Hyeon-Woo looked around in awe and casually remarked that he didn't expect a place like this to exist. Glancing at the Guild Aries members, he asked, "You guys must be loaded, huh? Building something like this underground?" The man who seemed to be the leader of Guild Aries asked who Hyeon-Woo was and how he managed to get into their bunker. Hyeon-Woo simply smiled and said they should already know. As a deadly aura began to radiate from his body, he continued, "I'm the angel of death sent to claim your lives." The scene cut to another location, a room that looked like it was used for interrogations. A woman sat in a chair, bound by cuffs and magical restraints. Standing before her, someone tried to provoke her by saying that Guild domination had abandoned her. That person turned out to be the leader of Guild Aries. With a mocking tone, he said, "Still being stubborn? You're going to die for real this time. But if you tell me the weaknesses of Guild domination, I'll grant you anything you want." The woman remained silent, showing not a hint of fear. Her calm defiance only enraged the guild leader more. He ordered his subordinates to drag her back to the torture chamber, saying that if she really wanted to die, they'd show her exactly what death felt like. One of his subordinates, an assassin, hesitated and asked if they were really allowed to kill her. The Guild Aries leader shot him a cold glare and said he didn't care. If she wasn't going to talk, then she was better off dead. The assassin lowered his head and accepted the order, but just as he was about to carry it out, the door suddenly exploded open with a thunderous blow. The Guild Aries leader turned to see who had arrived. Hyeon-Woo strolled into the room and asked, "So you're the one looking for me?" But when he noticed the woman slumped in the chair, his focus instantly shifted. He stared at the guild leader and said, "You invited me here, and yet I find someone else waiting for me?" Visibly panicked, the Guild Aries leader demanded to know how Hyeon-Woo had gotten there. He also asked what happened to the elite squad that had been sent to capture him. Hyeon-Woo responded with a relaxed smile. saying that the people he sent were still lying unconscious by the roadside. With a calm yet intimidating tone, he added, "So, what's it gonna be? You want me to beat you into the ground before I bury you, or do you want to talk?" The assassins near the guild leader rushed forward, swinging their swords at Hyeon-Woo. But before they could even touch his neck, Hyeon-Woo launched a powerful kick, sending one of them flying. Glancing down at the fallen assassins, he said that he came because he was invited, but instead, they welcomed him with violence. He asked if all they wanted was to try picking a fight. The guild leader, watching the scene unfold, finally realized something. Hyeon-Woo wasn't just some average A-rank hunter. The bunker was filled with B-plus class hunters, and all the assassins were A-plus. Some of them were even on the verge of advancing to S-rank, yet none of them could lay a finger on Hyeon-Woo. He'd even stopped the rift by himself. At first, the guild leader assumed that the rift's boss had just been weak, but now, after witnessing everything, he began to suspect that Hyeon-Woo was an S-rank, maybe even a high-tier S-rank. As he got lost in thought, Hyeon-Woo interrupted, asking if he was deaf. He reminded him that he'd given him a choice: get buried after a beatdown, or talk. The guild leader felt humiliated and frustrated, but he knew this wasn't the time to act rashly. Reluctantly, he agreed. They needed to talk, negotiate with Guild Aries. The scene shifted to a new room, with chairs arranged around a round table. The guild leader knew one thing for sure. Until he figured out just how powerful Hyeon-Woo really was, he couldn't afford to make another careless move. He needed to stall for time and dig deeper. Before the guild leader could even come up with a strategy, Hyeon-Woo got straight to the point, demanding compensation. The guild leader looked at him in shock and asked if he was serious. Pointing his finger, Hyeon-Woo replied, "Of course I'm serious." He stated that Guild Aries had caused him significant harm, sending hunters to kill him, using the media to ruin his reputation, and now pretending like nothing happened. With a calm expression, Hyeon-Woo continued, saying he had no intention of letting them off the hook. The guild leader asked what it was that Hyeon-Woo actually wanted. Without hesitation, Hyeon-Woo said he wanted 10 billion won in damages, and on top of that, control over a few beginner dungeons owned by Guild Aries. Hearing this, the guild leader slammed the table in frustration, calling the demands outrageous. But Hyeon-Woo responded coolly, "Is that amount really a problem for you guys?" He pointed out that, for a guild as big as Aries, that number shouldn't even matter. The guild leader fell silent, realizing just how insane this man was. While 10 billion won might not hurt their finances, handing over beginner dungeons meant giving a rookie hunter full monopoly rights. Hyeon-Woo stared him down and warned that if they kept stalling, he'd add another 5 billion to the bill. The guild leader clenched his jaw but tried to reason with him. He said there was no benefit to continuing this hostility, and if Hyeon-Woo only wanted money, he should have accepted their contract offer from the start. He continued, if Hyeon-Woo was after authority and exclusive rights, then joining Guild Aries would be the smarter move. If he agreed, he could get everything he wanted. Rather than become enemies, the guild leader said, wouldn't it be better to work together and both profit? But Hyeon-Woo's tone suddenly shifted. Annoyed, he firmly said he was starting to lose his patience. The guild leader was caught off guard by the change in his voice. Hyeon-Woo made it clear they were talking about compensation, not partnerships. He questioned why everyone in this guild acted so high and mighty. With a sharp mocking tone, Hyeon-Woo added that they strutted around, thinking they were powerful. But in the end, he had beaten them all down. And if they kept bringing up Guild Aries, he'd lose all interest in talking. Coldly, Hyeon-Woo gave the guild leader one final choice: accept his conditions or fight to the death. The guild leader said nothing, his face twisted in frustration. The scene shifts to Si-hyun's apartment. She was shocked when Hyeon-Woo suddenly showed up. But what surprised her even more was the fact that he was carrying a woman on his back. Confused, that Si-hyun stared at him and asked, "Who is she?" This video ends here, but the story isn't over yet. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss the next part.